Morning. Well, the Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper is in New York today to take part in a roundtable discussion with U.S. business leaders and, according to aides, also to keep the momentum of his meeting with President Obama in Canada last week. The trip marked the first foreign visit for President Obama, who discussed several topics with Prime Minister Harper, including the North American Free Trade Agreement, the Buy American Clause, and that $787 billion stimulus plan, and a clean energy initiative, and the impact Canada's tar sands oil would have on all of that. For more, I'm joined right now in studio by Prime Minister Stephen Harper. Good to see you.
It's nice to be here, Alexis.
Thanks so much for being here. You know, everybody talked about the meeting between the two of you last week. Clearly a gesture by this president that the relationship between you and the United States is critical to our trade, our economy. Did you, are you happy with the meeting? Did you get what you wanted?
We were all delighted. There was a long tradition up until about the 90s of U.S. presidents often making Canada their first foreign visit. So it was wonderful that President Obama was able to revive that tradition. He was, there's a lot of excitement about his election in Canada. He was very well received. And we had good discussions. And, I think it's important. We're all in Canada. We're, as you know, great friends and neighbors of the United States. We have the largest trading relationship in history. The one thing we often suffer from is because we're not a squeaky wheel, we often don't get the grease and we're forgotten. So it was great to have that kind of attention from our great friends in the United States. And one of the reasons I decided to travel here today was to follow up on that rare attention we actually got in the U.S. media last week.
It's interesting because there was a lot of talk heading into that meeting, not only about what the president had said along the campaign trail about NAFTA, and he's eased a lot of what he suggested earlier on, but also he really wanted those Buy American clauses within this stimulus bill dampened. Mm-hmm. What did you guys discuss in that regard?
Well, first of all, in terms of Buy American, as you know, the Senate modified those clauses to say that they will respect international trade agreements. I was just obviously seeking additional assurances from President Obama, clarification of what he said in public, which is that he believes that it is essential that we resist protectionism. You can have domestic procurement in government spending, provided you respect certain rules. We in Canada do that. We expect the United States to do the same. It is critical. In my judgment, the biggest single risk we have in the world recession right now is protectionism. And protectionism is the one thing that could turn a very deep recession into a very deep depression if we are not careful. So the fact that President Obama made clear that he will respect trade agreements, that protectionism is not the direction he wants to go, is a reassurance. Because if our stimulus measures, you recall at the G20, all major countries agreed to pursue stimulus. But the idea is not just to boost our own economies, but to boost the global economy. If those stimulus measures become protectionist measures, they will not be effective.
Which, frankly, is the danger right now.
Huge danger.
It is massive because you hear about it in the likes of China, you hear about it in Japan. Now there's concern about what might happen to the European Union. How do you fight that not only with the United States, but with the rest of the world?
Well, it's a big worry. In Canada, we also have introduced a second stimulus package that is largely built on spending. In that package, we actually reduced tariff barriers, particularly on imported machinery and equipment. We did that partly in our own interest, but partly because it's good for world trade. We're going to have another G20 summit in April in London. President Obama and I discussed that, so hopefully the voices against protectionism will be loud at that meeting.